What is up, all you moto fanatics? Welcome back to the channel. If you guys are returning, if you guys are new to this channel, I'm glad to have you with me today. Welcome to Dino Motor Reviews. And so today is going to be part 2 of the chassis setup or bike setup. And if you guys haven't seen part 1, go and check that out. But this is going to be how I set up the rear of the bike. And we're going to go over taking it apart, greasing everything up because there's limited amounts of grease on the items that we're going to be going over today, and that's coming from the manufacturer. And then we're going to put it all back together. I'm going to give you guys your torque specs, how to kind of torque it down properly to where the bike settles real nice. We don't have setting up race sag in this video, and we're not going to be going over the suspension clickers. I'm going to pop up the current suspension clickers that I'm doing for the whole entire bike. This is off of Kiefer Tested, off the Racer X bike shootout or the Pulp MX shootout. And I really like this bike setup. My front forks are about 4 clicks out, a little bit softer on the compression side. So I'm really happy with the current bike setup for the style of riding that I do. And I'm 6'2" and about 195 pounds on my lighter days. So it feels really comfortable for me. I don't really feel like the bike is unsettled or anything. And so let's just jump right on into this video and get you guys going. So we're going to start off by taking the lower chain tensioner off. It's going to be a 10mm socket with a 12mm wrench on the back side for the nut. Then we're going to work on the connecting arm on the frame side. It's in a really odd place. I'm really not happy with where they put that. It just seems like an oddball place, and it's very tight. So a wrench is about the only thing you're going to get in, or a crow's foot, which you'll see a little bit later on in the video. But it makes it very difficult to torque. I wish Yamaha would change that. So we'll take the nut and the washer off and just set it off to the side. I like to lay out the nuts and the washer onto the floor, just kind of out, and I like to keep them in order of how I took them off. You can put them on a napkin. Now we're going to work on the swing arm pivot shaft nut, where this is going to be a 22mm socket, and I use a breaker bar on a lot of these, just gives you extra leverage. 32mm wrench for the rear axle nut. We're going to get that off. And this is the only thing that I take off immediately is the rear wheel. And you'll want to watch your brake caliper as you take that off, and we'll slide that chain off to the side, up and over. And then watch that brake caliper and pull your rear wheel off, set off to the side. Now we're going to work on taking off the master link. We're just going to pop the master link up over the rivets with a screwdriver. Just bop it with your hand. It'll come right off. You might have it fly off somewhere, so wear safety glasses. Now with the swing arm pivot nut, you want to be careful to not hit that with anything solid to where you damage the threads on the opposite side or mushroom it out. So use something soft like a plastic or a brass will work, brass punch. Here we're going to take off the rear brake line guides. And I don't like to strip out the heads, so they did put Loctite on these from the manufacturer. And what I'm going to do is just slide that front one up and over. Be careful, this is a plastic item. You don't want to wrench on it too much and break it. But I don't like stripping out the head, so I just kind of worked it up over the brake line and then slid it off. Next, we'll slide the caliper off. Once we get that off, we're going to let it hang. You can use a bungee cord too if you would like, but it's not going to be off that long. Then we're going to work on the upper shock mounts. Take those off, use your breaker bar, a little extension. I also like to use a screwdriver here to get the washer and the nut, and then push that bolt all the way through. That way I don't lose the washer. It's always a pain when you lose stuff, or it drops or it rolls under the toolbox. And then we'll pull the bolt out, slide that rear shock off. Now we're going to clean everything up, make sure everything's nice and clean. There wasn't much grease from the manufacturer. They hardly put any in here, and I'm going to show you that on the linkage portion. But you want to grease these up, make these packed full of grease. That way you don't get any water in there that's going to damage up your bearings and bind up the bike. So we'll take the sealing washers off and take the collar out. As you can see, guys, there is no grease on these from the manufacturer. And we're going to give it ample amounts of grease. You want to be careful with these because these are uncaged bearings. The swing arm's not that bad because it is a caged bearing, but you definitely want to be careful with the connecting arm and the relay arm because they are uncaged bearings and you can pull them out. As you see, I just had one kind of fall in there. We can work them back in pretty easy. Be gentle with this. But once you get these all nice and packed up, then we'll work on doing the collars. That is a nicely greased relay arm or linkage. Then I like to take a paintbrush, do all of the collars, put the sealing washers back in. Like I said, the swing arm's not that bad. They do have tools out for this now, which is really nice. You can get them greased up super quick. But we're gonna grease up those collars, put them back in. Also do the same to all of the bolts. This way your suspension doesn't bind. It works nice and smooth. It keeps the water out, keeps it from getting damaged, rusted up. We want this thing to be a nice, well-oiled machine. So, all right, now we're gonna clean up all the excess grease. I have my Simple Green there, ready to go. Spray a little bit on a towel, just kind of wipe it up, get it off the seals. You're still never going to get all of the grease up that you may have left behind, but it's good to get the majority of it. We'll start by putting the shock on. We'll get that upper mount in. Once we get that upper mount in, we'll get the nut on there, thread it on. We're not going to tighten it down just yet. The only thing we are going to tighten down is going to be the connecting arm on the frame side. We'll tighten that down immediately once we get it on, and we'll tighten down the lower drive chain tensioner, and we'll get that on here in just a sec. This one was kind of tricky. It is a little bit easier if you have the tank off and all the plastics off. Makes it a lot easier to get at, and it's easier to torque. So definitely take your time with that. And if you are going to use an extension, make sure you take into account the length of your extension and minus off your torque. I believe it's 19 foot-pounds. I'm not sure on that. I'll leave that in the link in the description below. Now we're going to get the swing arm pivot bolt in. And this takes a little bit of working. It's easy to get this one bound up, so you might have to wiggle the swing arm back and forth a little bit and up and down to kind of get that bolt aligned and get it in there. But once you do, it should move in pretty smooth. All right, so now that we got the swing arm pivot, we're going to work on getting the relay arm, the connecting arm all put together, get all the nuts put back on, get everything snugged up, not tightened yet. We're going to get to that here in just a second. This is something to take your time with. Make sure you have everything on properly. The bolts only go one way because they have a little lock onto the side. There's no actual bolt head. So it's going to lock in. It's got a little groove that's going to catch the head of the bolt and keep that from moving. Now we're going to tighten the connecting arm on the frame side. Use a crow's foot 19 millimeter. And we're going to torque it to 59 foot-pounds. And it's going to be the same for the relay arm side as well, 59 foot-pounds. Now we're just going to thread that chain through, get it set up, get it routed right. Then we're going to put on the lower chain tensioner. And we'll torque that down immediately. That is going to be 12 foot-pounds. And then your relay arm nut, I did not actually get that in the video. That is going to be 52 foot-pounds, and that's going to be on the back of the swing arm and up at the top. And that should be your torque settings for those.
And another thing that I did not get in the video, guys, was the master link, putting that back on. What I do is I end up taking a set of pliers, and then I put the master link on all the way, get it to where it's about ready to snap on. I'll take my pliers, hook it onto one of the rivets and onto the front of the master link, and I'll just squeeze until it goes on. It might take you a little bit, but take your time with that. Now we're going to get the rear wheel put back on. Make sure the calipers all lined up, the brake pads are lined up, they're not pinched or anything, they're not binding, and around the brake disc guard. Then we're going to push that rear axle nut in. Make sure you're lined up. Don't just be pushing on it like I'm doing right here. Got a little overzealous. Once we get that axle nut in, we'll get the axle blocks pushed up against the chain tensioner. And then I'm going to put the axle nut on. I'm just going to snug it down. We're not actually going to tighten anything up just yet. So when you tighten your bolts, it's really good to take it off the stand. And that way the suspension and all of the pivot bolts and everything are able to settle a little bit as you torque it. So put some weight into it off the stand. And you'll see what I mean once we get this snugged up. All right, so the swing arm pivot shaft bolt, this is going to be 63 foot-pounds. And then 41 for the upper shock nut. And then the lower shock nut is going to be 39 foot-pounds. And I'm just putting a little bit of weight just to settle the suspension a little bit. I like to put a rag in the chain to bind it up a little bit. Then what we're going to do is tighten down the rear axle nut up to 100 foot-pounds. And another thing the towel does is it holds the axle blocks up against the chain tensioner bolts. And once we get that all snugged up, we'll move on to the spokes. And so we'll start at the valve stem or the rim lock, and we're going to skip 2, go around until all of them are tight. Then you're going to move over 1 and skip 2 once you get to the valve stem or the rim lock, wherever you started. And we'll go around 3 times and tighten this up. This way you don't get a gnarly hop or a wobble. Keeps the wheel nice and true. I don't know why I went so long without a spoke torque wrench. I'm going to leave that in the product description below. It is by Excel. And I really like this spoke torque wrench. It's worked really, really well. Next, we're going to adjust the rear brake pedal with 2 10mm wrenches. I like to adjust it just a little bit higher than foot peg height. That way you have ease of access at it. But adjust it to your liking. Depends on foot sizes and all of that, your comfortability or riding skill level. But it is nice to not have to reach for your brake pedal. I hope this video helps you guys out in your bike setup and greasing everything up. I had a lot of fun making this video, so I hope you guys enjoy and hope to catch you guys on the next one.
Thank you guys so much for watching the full video content. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope to catch you on the next one. And if you guys did enjoy that video and you like what we're doing on this channel, give us a thumbs up and a like, then click subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. It just helps this channel grow, and it helps me be able to release future video content for you guys down the road. And if you do subscribe, you might as well click the bell notification icon. That way you're the first to see the video content before anybody else. And again, thank you guys so much for watching. I am out. As always, guys, ride safe.